Welcome to Amalgama WellTech Hub. Dive with us into this new podcast where we explore the fusion of wellness and technology.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Amalgama podcast, where we explore the intersection of business, technology, and innovation. Today, we have a special guest, someone we know not just because we share a deep focus on the wellness industry, but because we also work together. Eddie Hertzman, the founder of Athletech News, has built one of the fastest growing media platforms in the business and wellness space. In just a few years, he's turned it into a go-to resource for executives, investors, and innovators. Today, we'll unpack the insights on the business of fitness, the role of media in the industry, and where the biggest opportunities are. Welcome, Eddie. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure, a pleasure. Thank you for joining. And we want to kick off this conversation by asking, when you started Athletech, what was the gap you saw in the fitness industry that led to the creation, the foundation of Athletech?
So I know you guys heard me tell this story before, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I don't come from the fitness or wellness space. I was a supply chain guy, and by accident started a supply chain publication. I was very fortunate to exit that to Penske Media, and that's where I really got exposed to, Billboard and music and variety and film and WWD and fashion, and I saw art news and art, and I saw that every industry kind of had their publication or record. I remember reading this 50-page CB Insights report on connected fitness deal flow. Don't ask me how I ended up reading that in 2019. But that got me thinking, well, where is the Bloomberg of fitness and wellness? And every industry has it. I mean, I remember sitting in Vegas for a fashion conference, and there was a pizza convention and a pizza journal. I was like, whoa. I mean, there were 8,000 pepperoni salesmen. I'm like, where is this in fitness and wellness? And it just seemed like an obvious opportunity, especially after COVID, because I think that what was traditionally a four-wall brick and mortar business, equipment people selling into that transformed into at-home connected. So you had the remote versus in person. You had a big emphasis on health coming out of the pandemic. So now we see recovery, wellness, longevity. The business really very quickly evolved. I think consumers, their share of wallet and what they were willing to spend on these services have also greatly increased. And so I just thought it was a tremendous opportunity, and no one was really talking about it. And I'm not talking about how to get flat abs or how to get bigger biceps. I'm talking about someone really looking at the deal flow, someone looking at the economics of these businesses, someone talking about the executives running these companies. And so that was really the catalyst to kind of jump it off.
Great.
Amazing. And how do you make such a rapidly grow, right? Because is that right? You have how much? 85,000 subscribers? How much do you have?
100,000 subscribers, 100,000 subscribers. So we started the beginning of 24 with about 50, and we ended the year about 100.
Wow.
Look, some of this is, some of it's a secret sauce. But I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in many ways, right? So the more you write about, the more people look. I believe build it, they will not come. You don't just build something and people show up. I think that you have to create content that is compelling, whether you can monetize it or not. You have to say, what do people want to read? And then it's a lot of social engineering. If I write about you, then your competitor wants to be written about. If I write about that competitor, then the other competitor wants to be written about. Then this person, well, why am I not written about? Then they all reading it. And so the more you write, the more people are interested in reading, the more they read, the more they share, the more people come in. You also can't forget about, the importance, although it's changing very rapidly with search now, with AI results coming up at the top. I think they're saying Google search traffic is down 20%, which is probably going to decimate a lot of media companies that are dependent upon indirect and affiliate revenue. But the more you write about a very, very specific topic, and the more people obviously are linking into you, your domain authority goes up and up and up and up. And again, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you break a news story, you're number one in Google, people find you, then they come back to you. You have to have a couple of serendipitous moments. being asked to go to NASDAQ and stuff like that. A lot of people, it's one thing to have a site. The next thing when people could see, oh, wow, ATN actually, I know these people. I could put them in a room together. That adds credibility. Um, and I also think, it's interesting. You're not the first one to say, oh, this kind of happened overnight. You're not seeing the 2 years that I emailed myself every day. And so 4 years, it's 2 years, but it's really 4 years. And in those first 2 years, I wanted to quit every other week because I'm like, do I really need to do this? So now you're talking 4 years going into the fifth year, millions invested, how many hours, and now, what does it take to get to profitability? What does it take to get to scale that actually makes sense? I always joke, no matter how rich you are, you can't have a baby in 5 months. These things just take time and time and time and time and time. And so I think it also is a signal of the interest and the growth of the industry and how badly they wanted a media platform for them to call home.
Sorry, what pushing more entrepreneurial profile, right? Were you the one who started everything? I did the homework, the technical homework, and I checked the source code. Your site is in WordPress. I'm wondering if you were the guy who put that website live.
It was actually interesting. When I was 21, 22, this is part of the story I never tell. I wanted to do Lucky Magazine for men. They had like the high low. I was a big GQ fan, and I'm like, oh man, like I can't afford these $1,000 Gucci shoes and $10,000 Tom Ford suits. So I'm like, let me create this thing called Debonair Magazine. I lost all the money. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is I ended up building it on a proprietary CMS. There was no WordPress. About a year into building this, WordPress comes out, and I'm like, oh my God, what I just built for $100,000 is now essentially free. So I did learn how to do WordPress. So when I started Sourcing Journal in 2009, I built the first page, and I knew how to build a little email. It looked like terrible, but I got it out. So that friction was kind of gone. And then I was aggregating news. This time around, I don't want to say I built the first page, but if you saw the first Athletech, if you went back to the Wayback Machine, it was like one page with a cartoon character of like a connected at-home bike and put an email in. And maybe a couple like links below it. It looked terrible, but I'm a big believer in that. Don't let best be the enemy of better. The mistake I made at 21 is let's change the logo, let's change the gradient. No one gives a shit. Velocity. Get it out. If you like it, okay. Keep moving, keep moving. You can always make it better every single day. And if someone says it's terrible, okay, it'll get better the next day. I wanted to just get traction and see if people are interested in it. But yeah, in the beginning, I'm finding the stories. I'm writing the stories. Not writing stories, signing the stories. I'm doing a lot of it. And to this day, still, we have a great editorial team, but very involved. Very, very involved. I think it's a mistake to think at a small scale that you could be a completely hands-off CEO. I'm not a micromanager. I definitely spend more times on the sales and the marketing and curating events. But a lot of times I think entrepreneurs are like, oh, I don't want to quote unquote work. I think you have to, I'm dreaming of this stuff, or maybe it's nightmares. I don't know. 24/7.
Yeah, we're a startup and we completely agree. And it's part of being an entrepreneur. Like you are everywhere all at once. You know how to do everything. That's why then you know how to coach the people that you hire. That's why you know how to choose the correct people that will join you in order to keep growing. So would you say that is a good advice for an entrepreneur? Like keep in mind that you will have to keep doing the job even though you grow and grow and grow.
But I think it obviously depends on the scale of the business. Not building a contingency plan and not building a succession plan and not building an organization that could survive or run without you is also a problem. But I think the idea, especially in the beginning, I think there's a difference between doing a job and getting a job done. And so, I mean, an example I use all the time. You talk about accounts receivable. Someone could email you 3 times. Can you please pay your bill? Can you please pay your bill? Can you please pay your bill? That person will say they did their job. But if you didn't pay your bill, I don't have the money. Did you email the CEO of the company? Did you email the CFO of the company? Did you pick up the phone? Did you tell them we're going to send them to collections? Did you tell them that they're not? What did you do? Oh, I'm interested in doing business with you. Oh, I emailed the marketing director. Okay, how many times did you email? Once, twice? Did you say, hey, I see that you're going to an event in a couple weeks. Did I have a meeting with you? Did you send him an article that maybe they ordered? Did you do everything humanly possible? Like there are things you can't control. I can't make you sign on the line, but there's a process. How you reach out, how many times you reach out, the quality of the proposal, the quality of the conversation. Those are things you can control. And I think the idea that, you do X, like people sometimes, you could be very busy and have nothing done. You could be very busy and actually not have the results you want. So busy is not a job, nor this notion that just working a lot is going to get you what you want. I spend a lot of time and I get very frustrated that I don't see the results that I want. I have 2 options: to keep going or quit. And sometimes you got to find a different way. So I'm a little crazy. We have a client. He wasn't responding. I decided to write him an entire email, and I'm what crazy. Where are you? I need to talk to you. But I wrote the whole thing in Italian, because I figured like the guy has to laugh. And the next day he called me at 9 o'clock in the morning. My team said, "You speak Italian?" I go, "No, I don't speak Italian, but I'm trying to be creative and catch his attention." And so he did, and he apologized, and he said that was very funny, et cetera, et cetera. So again, there's doing the job and getting the job done. And I think that's what you have to think about as an entrepreneur. Okay, you sell something. Well, okay, but did you execute on that thing? Did you collect on that thing? Did you ensure the client's happy? Selling is just raising money is just a admission to the game. Selling a deal is just the opportunity to work with a client. Like everyone gets, I think they celebrate at different parts of the journey. And to me, until it's signed, sealed, and delivered, and you're happy and coming back, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm never really satisfied. I'm always paranoid. But I think that's also what I think you need a little bit of that paranoia to be successful too.
Yes, absolutely. And creativity. I mean, of what you just said, creativity is a big part of pushing forward and aiming at keeping growing.
Well, I think you guys would know this better than I, and I don't want to have a doom and gloom outlook on the world, but I think that the world's going to look very different. And I don't even want to say 10 years. It could be 10 months or 2 months, 2 years or 3 years on what AI is going to do to workflow and efficiency. And I think that human relationships and in-person connections and the ability to broker those type of deals are the one things that AI is not going to be able to do. And so leaning into, AI can't do this per se. And AI is not going to have the 20-minute conversation that we had before, and it won't have the 20-minute conversation after. So relying on just, boilerplate emails and the standard, I think we got to get more creative and we got to prioritize. Sometimes you got to go back to basics.
Completely agree.
About that, I'm totally up to speed with this, but I think we already saw you a couple of times in this kind of executive events. I saw you in action. It was like, oh my God, this guy, he really knows how to connect the dots. He knows everybody here. He can speak with pretty much everybody in the room, which is quite admiring. Like, how do you become an Eddie Hertzman of any industry, right? Like, how do you become that kind of guy who is irreplaceable by an AI, and it's really hard to get, and it's like known by everybody?
Not sure I'm known by anyone, but thank you. I think it's interesting. So I always would tell my team this, and probably one of the reasons I'm not married is because I don't have much of a social life. There's a very fine line to me what's business and what's personal. Again, do I need to do this with you right now? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's funny. It's actually really, really funny. I saw Jerry Seinfeld getting interviewed on like 60 Minutes once, and the interviewer goes, So Jerry, you get paid as an actor, correct? And a producer, correct? And as a writer, that's also correct. And you get paid every single time the show airs in syndication all around the world, correct? And then Jerry goes, but yet I make nothing sitting here talking to you. Um, what I think about is, again, what I said earlier, doing the job and getting the job done. If I tell you my phone, I am all day, every day, 7 days talking to people. I was talking to people last night at 8 and 8:30. I had to apologize. I didn't realize one of these guys, he's a very, very big private equity investor, goes, all right, my wife heard enough. I got to hang up. I'm like, you had the wife in the car the entire time and we're talking? Why didn't you tell me? I wouldn't have been rambling. So the question is, was that a business conversation? Was that a personal conversation? And you have to do a lot of favors. Eddie, can you introduce me to this person? Can I talk to you about this? What do you think about this? Can you write about this? I have people come to my office. They tell me their ideas. 90% of them are ridiculous. But who am I to say that? So I think you have to be very open to conversation, be very open to listening, I believe it's my job to be the ultimate connector. And so this is something I tried to do a lot of my last company, Sourcing Journal, that a lot of my teams never understood. Well, why are you going to dinner with the head of Li and Feng, one of the largest supply chain companies? They're not an advertiser. I'm like, no. You're thinking about it all wrong. If they're the largest supply chain company in the world, they have so much insight into what's going on in every country, the manufacturing, insight into European retail, American retail, Latin American retail. You're thinking of this as a transactional meeting. I'm only going to go to dinner with someone that's going to advertise. You're thinking like a salesman, not like a business owner. That is going to give me credibility. That's going to give me information. So that's how I look at it. Every single time I pick up the phone, it's not to do a deal. Actually, my team says, Eddie, you're a horrible salesman. All you're doing is talking to people and never getting anything done. I'm like, you look at it that way, but it's building relationships. They're building relationships. So when you saw me last week, it wasn't that I was selling. Oh, I got this new concept. Oh, I want to talk to you about this. Oh, hey, are you going to be here? Oh, can I go to your party in Vegas? And I want to let you know you have a great team. Oh, so it's just always talking. Oh, but everyone wants to grab you. Here's the other thing. People get confused between the power and the power of the seat. A lot of people want to talk to me right now. You say, oh, why are you a popular guy? Because they want the seat I'm in. They know that I can write about them, or my team can write about them. If I am no longer in the seat, I don't know if everyone's going to want to see me anymore. And so people think they're buyers. That pen is very powerful when you could write $100 million of orders. The second they leave that retailer and then they're not buying anymore, they get why is all these people not calling me? You will still have your friends. But don't confuse friendship from business relationship. People are very interested when you have the power of the pen.
Yeah.
Okay. Super in line with it. So Eddie, what's next for Athletech, right? I can see you're an ambitious man, and Athletech is growing a lot. What's next, right? Is there anything on the horizon?
I try to stay relatively agile. I think the world's changing very, very fast. So, people ask me, what's your 5-year plan? I'm trying to get through the week, but I think there's a couple things that are definitely happening. 2025 is an important year for us for in-person events. We did a real intimate CEO summit at NASDAQ this year. It showed us that the industry wants to hear from outside voices. It shows us that top executives are willing to be in the audience and learn, and that people really want a very intimate opportunity to network, not be sold to, not be pitched to, but network at the highest level. Then we're going to do our party at HFA, which is really more fun. It's our giving back to the industry. A bunch of us come together, split the freight, and probably have 700 people in a club. And then June is our big innovation summit. We're not trying to be a trade show. We're not trying to do what other people are doing. We think there's an opportunity to bring in outside voices that have not been heard, bring in a different caliber speaker, have a production quality and experience that maybe other industries are used to, that maybe this industry has yet to really see. Um, I think it could be a place where one of the challenges, the fragmentation of this industry. And so how do you have one stage where you could create content that solves everyone or serves everyone? And you start to look at who's buying tickets, and you have a CMO and a CTO and a head of franchise and a founder and a PE, and whoa, these are very different titles. And Aura and Techno Gym and Zumba and Planet and there's a lot of this. While they all may be in fitness and wellness, they're very different companies. So what is similar that I could put on a main stage? What is very specific and curated that I could put on a breakout? How do I encourage meaningful meetings? How do I foster? I always say I want to be like the Davos meets YPO meets Sun Valley, and maybe that's a little aspirational, so I'm not claiming to be that. But how do you become the Super Bowl where every year people say, look, I'm going to mark my calendar, and for these 2 days, I know I'm gonna get deals done. I'm gonna meet people that could do deals. I'm gonna learn things. I don't care what's going on. That Super Bowl Sunday, we all put the TV on. And that June 17th, 18th, we put the TV on, and we're coming to watch that WrestleMania, whatever you want to call it. The other big opportunity, I think, is in data and insights. Again, at NASDAQ, we had Sports Innovation Lab and Placer AI present, and everyone's eyes opened up. And I think this industry really wants insights and analysis that maybe other industries have, because most of the companies are publicly traded here. Most are private. Also, there's not a lot of research on consumer personas, share of wallet spending, what companies are going up and down, where people are also spending their money. These are insights that will really help companies be more successful in understanding their customer and also targeting their customer. Marketing is just not an Instagram, an ad or a TikTok ad. There's ways to be much more sophisticated about this. So creating like an ATN Plus or an ATN Pro and having some premium level content is something I really want to do. Having almost analysts join the team versus editors. The other thing that I think could be very interesting is some type of lead generation business, specifically around franchises. Very early stages, building out this kind of AI mechanism where my name's Eddie, I own 3 Papa Johns, I live in Manhattan, here's my net worth, here's my liquidity, I have access to funding, and I'm interested in opening a boxing studio. Okay, based on these parameters, this is something that makes, these are our recommendations. Because people have Entrepreneur Magazine, or maybe there's brokers, but is there a trusted source that could really help you narrow that down? People come to us for that, but it's hard for me to give a recommendation without having all the data. So is there a way to automate that a little bit? This is more your world, understanding this. That could be an opportunity. And then the thing is never the thing. That's what I'll just end with, is where we are right now in our journey is what I would say is a very typical media playbook. But I think as the network builds and the community builds and our relationships build, other businesses could come out of this. So like I also have a business where I manufacture clothing for a lot of fitness and wellness locations. Most people don't know that. That was a derivative of me having a supply chain background and people coming to me and saying, hey, I'm like, you want 10 t-shirts? Like, I make containers, and then realizing there's like this need for like 12, 24 pieces of highly customized, no inventory, quick turn, low cost stuff so that people could retail this in their locations. So I built a domestic supply chain here, built an on-demand site, and boom. Whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, and everyone thinks I'm crazy for offering people, essentially no minimums and turning things in 2 weeks. But it's solving a pain point. Now, can I profitably solve that pain point? I'll let you know if you invite me back in 2 years. But I know that's a pain point that needs to be solved. So what are other pain points or other opportunities that will come about because of Athletech? Is it investing in some of these early stage concepts? Is it brokering deals? Is it doing SPVs? Is it becoming a consulting firm? I don't know. I keep my eyes open to, maybe it's me acquiring other media companies or investing in other ideas and creating some economies of scale. I think that's a very likely thing as well.
Eddie, and given that the fitness industry is very heavily consumer driven, Do you see yourself or Athletech getting involved with the consumer instead of a B2B model that you have right now?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that intrigued me most about this, and this is learning from like the billboards of the world, is that this is a B2B and B2C. I mean, you don't have months where you have 500,000 or 600,000. I mean, we had months where we had close to 1 million people hit the site. That's not from the 100,000 executives. That's from search traffic and referral and whatnot. There's a lot of curiosity. So again, what separates an executive from a consumer is also a gray line. I wear the Normatec boots a couple days a week. I sleep on the 8 sleep. Am I an executive or am I a consumer? I also think that people are looking for a trusted source. So when everyone's a blogger and everyone's an influencer and everyone could create a website with a click of a button, authority means something. And so we recently hired someone. She came from Conde. She worked on the consumer side. She worked on the e-commerce side. This is content that you probably don't see on the site very much because it's not as promoted as much. But we're testing to see if we have some consumer content, how that resonates. It does very, very well. She's had stories that have hundreds of thousands of page views. But what I'll say is that scares me a little bit because as a business model, one algorithm change, one social media platform goes away, you're contingent on affiliate deals or indirect advertising deals. So I like B2B as a business model better, but absolutely do I think there's an opportunity. And if I really think there's an opportunity is to partner and have activations, in-person activations at consumer events where I could take my business clients and bring them into an immersive experiential environment. And then that's how you kind of create the recovery house brought to you by ATN at South by Southwest or something like that. Like that's where I see us really going on the consumer side.
Great. Well, Eddie, we're running out of time. We want to be respectful of your time and also our audiences. So thank you so much for the insights, for the great conversation. It's always very interesting talking with you. So thank you for your time, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.